Or something. Jerry. We have a chef. Can you put it up? Can you sign it down?
You see? Email said I could have some of that. Need some of these. They lie. Even water. There's the whole thing.
Give me the spot set up. As they set up, we can start. You know how spot like the mechanic.
Good.
We're kind of white trash around.
Is there Wi-Fi by any chance?
It's
Really?
hey Jerry. It's green like something. It's on Orby. Do you see Orby?
Yes.
Hold on.
You're right. Yes. The young gal.
Jerry,
And,
what's our Wi-Fi? Green Lake 723, all lowercase.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that is my specialty. And the family, Marriage.
Hey, that's good, I think.
That's
Good.
I never asked for anything.
because.
I don't know if you've seen that song called The
You have a sense. Yeah, they've been
You guys are now. Is the stream try? Can you guys on y'all's end? It shouldn't be.
Collection of people with a good heart, good mind. Just ask you, Father, let us all be of one spirit. Thank you for this gathering. I've never seen so many candidates in one place. But we thank you, Father, and ask you to empower each and every one of them to run to be physical, not be physical, but to protect them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And let you be glorified by and through each and every person here and each and every person running. We thank you for this opportunity, give you all the glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to please silence your phones. You can keep them on, but let's silence them so that when our guests are speaking, we're not being rude to them. All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming. It's gonna be a great evening. We've got several candidates here. Let me, just mention our local candidates for now. We've got Marcy Chavez running for, Congress. We got Manny Barraza also running for Congress. We've got Ruben Rios running for Congress. We have, sorry, just making sure I don't miss candidates. We got Lupe in there running for county judge. Hector's here somewhere. He's also running for Congress. We have Matlock running for Railroad Commission. We have Perla Hopkins running for Lieutenant Governor. And we have Doc Chambers running for governor.
Hey, hey.
So the great thing is that the Republican Party is so much better and different than the Democrats because we can gather here friendly, nice with each other, not being mean or hateful, and get along because we're here for our community, we're here for the party, and we're here for God. So,
Amen.
I thank you all for that kindness, for that politeness, and continue. One thing that the El Paso Republican Party, we struggled for years. We had been doing well. And I want to thank all of you and all the other Republicans for stepping up, coming forward, and being part of this party and getting the word out that there are Republicans in El Paso and we're moving forward. We're growing. We're up about 36% from when we were the last election. If you remember, that last election was a presidential election. Usually the midterms, our numbers are way down. We're up 36% from with this time for that election. So give your guys self a hand of applause for that.
Hey, Mike, thank you for all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Carol. You know, the Republicans, our big numbers come on election day, okay? And the few days beforehand, but our big number hits on election day. It's gonna hit again this year. So keep getting your friends out, keep getting everyone you see, you meet, get them to talk and vote for Republicans, okay? So right now, I think that we're gonna go ahead and have our guest speak. We've got a few of them on the phone, so let me give them a minute. Matlock? All right, so I got to meet Matlock earlier today when he came by the office. He's a wonderful man, and he's running for Railroad Commissioner. Let's give him a big hand.
Okay. Can you hear me? There we go. My name is James Matlock. I'm running for Texas Railroad Commission. Got a question. How many of you get tired of the trains sitting on the tracks, honking when they pass your house late at night? You know, don't call me, call TxDOT for that one. For those not familiar, Railroad Commission is the state's permitting regulatory oversight agency of the oil and gas pipeline and mining industries. I've got 20 years in the oil and gas industry. Excuse me. And, you know, I'd like to start by saying 33 years ago, I took an oath standing on yellow footprints, MCRD, San Diego, California, protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. You know, at 19, I had no idea what that meant. After many conversations with constitutional scholars, professors, come to realize That oath is simple. We are to secure the blessings of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to ourselves and our posterity. That's it, nothing more. Now, looking at things that's happened over the years, over the past several years, especially, you know, there are those who tried to kill my industry, the oil and gas industry, with ESG. And, we rely heavily on oil and gas. And, we need to stop with the subsidies on the wind, batteries, solar. Let's get back to doing what we do best here in Texas. We drill for oil. Now, you look at the data centers coming in. How many people are concerned about data centers?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Your average data center uses anywhere from 300,000 to 5 million gallons of water a day. Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the aquifer to sustain multiple data centers in each region? No. My industry, the oil and gas industry, we produce over 588 million gallons of wastewater per day. They typically take it, inject it back into the ground. So I co-authored a resolution that's already been adopted by the SREC. Basically, that resolution states that data centers must use recycled oil and gas wastewater. They must dig a reserve pit, just like the oil and gas industry does, to keep the water, retain the water on site, recirculate it. And it also goes one step further and has them install some form of geothermal technology that would pull the heat from the water and reduce their 1.7 to 2.4 gigawatt, not megawatt, but gigawatt demand on our grid.
Wow.
Our grid's already faltering. And, we can't handle all these data centers going in. And there are some data centers that have demands up to 12 gigawatts
Oh, no.
of energy. So we need more infrastructure and, we need to make sure that they're doing everything they can to be as efficient as possible. I know for a lot of people, the orphan wells are a big issue. An orphan well is one that company comes in, they drill, then they sell it to an independent producer, then they sell it to another independent. After a while, the one, independent, they'll go belly up, go bankrupt. Well, those orphan wells, they fall back on the state. They're on our liability roll. Nobody's checking on them, nobody's monitoring. I've had several that I've called in on this leaking. And Railroad Commission's usually pretty good, at least in East Texas, about getting out, going ahead and trying to fix it or plug it. Now, my thing is, before it gets to that point, we should be working with our local independent operators. And, we're currently paying, on average, $250,000 per well to plug and abandon the wells. So one thing that I would like to see is, we pay the independent producers $100,000 per well. You either get it in production, which hopefully we can get them in production. That means more tax revenue for Texas if they're producing. Or they plug it, because on the private side you can plug a well $35,000 to $85,000 instead of $250,000. So if we're able to save money that way, and hopefully get a majority of them back in production, we're better off as a state. And we need to change the rules on how you can adopt the wells, what you can do with the orphan wells, because current rules state that you have to produce X amount of oil and or X amount of natural gas per month for 3 consecutive months before you can take over the well. But in the water, we have lithium, we have plutonium, we have uranium, and then again, some of these wells are just high water producers. So, we could always use that water to feed the data centers and make sure we have enough on hand instead of pulling from the aquifers. And, if we become more efficient and take these orphan wells, get them producing, and stop injecting water, because if you look at majority of the seismic activity in Texas happens between Midland and the New Mexico line, because that's where there's a large number of saltwater disposals. Or it happens over in East Texas, not too far from my house, because there's a large number of saltwater disposals. We're taking up valuable pore space. If we repurpose the water and stop injecting that water into the ground, then we'll reduce the amount of seismic occurrences. And then our Railroad Commission, TCEQ, they've failed Texans multiple times. We have a facility in East Texas has 72 violations, been operating over 2 years without an active permit, and yet two of the current commissioners voted to go ahead and just issue another permit without making them fix the issues. And then we have over here Lake Bomer, which is north of Fort Stockton, Imperial area. A well was drilled in the 50s. A company came in the 70s to plug it. Farmer asked, can you plug it back, turn it into a water well for me? We try to be good neighbors. Yeah, we'll help you that way. So we plugged it back, the oil and gas industry did, plugged it back, turned it into a water well. That property sold multiple times since then. Nobody bothered to check that old water well. With all the pressures subsurface, the plug fell out. It's leaking 250 gallons brine water per minute.
Oh, no.
And, Railroad Commission says, well, it was plugged for a water well, so, that's TCEQ's problem, not ours. TCEQ says, but wait a minute, it was originally drilled for hydrocarbons. That's Railroad Commission, not ours. Meanwhile, TxDOT has already spent $15 million rerouting a farm road because the water level got up so high. And, that makes it our problem because that 15 million, that was our tax dollars that rerouted that farm road. Now, here's the sad part. That well has been leaking since 2005. Nobody has yet to take responsibility for it. That's my day one, look, I don't have the answers on how to fix it. But my thing is, any forward movement is better than sitting still. Take responsibility. We may have to drill horizontal into it and figure out how to fix it, as the Marine Corps motto goes, improvise, adapt, and overcome. You move forward, you take the first step. When you run into an obstacle, back up, regroup, think, and then you start moving forward again. We can't set a rig directly over it because we don't know what subsurface looks like. We'll actually have to drill horizontal into the cavern and see how bad it is. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, is that part of Christy Craddock's area, what you're discussing and presenting for us now? She was, she's leaving the railroad commissioner position, and is that some of that on her plate?
Some of it is on her plate. The incumbent, Jim Wright, some of it's on his.
Yeah.
And the other one, Wayne Christian, they're all guilty. And even the commissioners before them have dropped the ball. It's not something new. That's why I say it's been going on since 2005. There's been a lot of people sitting on the commission since then. and nobody has accepted responsibility for it yet.
Oh, that's outrageous. Um,
And, I'm a person, I'm solutions oriented. I'm not a politician. I don't like playing office politics. It's time we have some real solutions for real problems.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate your vote March 3rd. Grab a card, my phone number's on the back. Feel free to give me a call anytime. Any questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I
Okay.
think the average citizen doesn't know what the railroad commissioner does.
Yeah.
And so like explaining it like very clear and like where we're able to understand, like it makes a big impact, I think. I think it's never like, even at my age, it's never really been explained to me. I never really knew. But they
Yes.
did before. So I think what you're doing is great. I think the average citizen like needs to understand like how important the railroad commissioner is. Because I don't think really most people know. I may be wrong, but
No, they don't.
I spend more time explaining what the Railroad Commission does than actually my campaign. And just so you know, I am working on a resolution to change the name. And my name change would be Texas Department of Energy and Natural
yes,
Resources.
yes.
There you
that's
go.
it, yes.
And we would have to keep the 3 elected officials on top instead of governor appointees.
Right.
Keep 3 elected people, but that'll also, since it's Department of Energy and Natural Resources, Railroad Commission fall under the protocol, then we could bring in TCEQ, ERCOT, PUC, and Texas Water Development Board and cut a lot of bureaucracy out of the state of Texas.
Right.
Bureaucracy is what's killing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means that the Railroad Commission does handle, what utilities, if I may ask?
Well, if you have natural gas running to your house, we monitor the natural gas pipeline coming to your house. We don't actually oversee the pricing of the natural gas, although they do have to submit when they want to do a price increase to the Railroad Commission.
Is that the only utility that you handle?
Yes, we don't handle
And
electricity or that's PUC and ERCOT on the electricity.
Yeah, because I called the commission, at one point, which, I don't know if you're aware, here in El Paso, they're getting very ridiculous as far as the utility costs. They have all kinds of fees that we don't even know about.
Yes,
And the consumption of the service doesn't equate to all these fees that we were charged for.
yes, ma'am. It's getting sad the way they just keep tacking on different fees, and now some of that actually comes through legislation. So call your legislators too and complain to them about it and see what they can do to reduce some of that bureaucracy overhead.
Thank you.
Yes,
I had only realized, I don't know how long ago, but it was recent, it feels, that there's any given time, there's 3 railroad commissioners.
correct.
And so how do they order when the elections are up for each of them, and how do you guys work together? And do you guys focus on one region of Texas, like a third of the state, or how do you split the work?
Okay, so the commissioners are 6 years. There's 3 commissioners, 6-year staggered terms, meaning one commissioner comes up every 2 years. And, as far as it's all statewide office, everybody covers statewide. There's no, districts or anything like that commissioner is responsible for. Now, there are districts, but each commissioner is over all the districts in Texas. And, we'll have hearings. Oh, yeah.
Pause for a sec. Pause for.
I
I know.
Okay, yeah, we should just take this for whatever time it goes in trouble.
Any other
I
questions?
think Perla had a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I was just gonna bring up that I love your idea of changing the title of this position.
Oh.
It only makes sense, yes, sir.
Yes, and anything we can do to cut bureaucracy is always a good thing for Texas.
Amen.
So continuing on what she said, I don't want to make it sound silly. So you have nothing to do with trains?
No, that's a really good question. And just real quick, a brief history on the Railroad Commission. We were founded in 1891 to ensure equality or equal and fair access and tariffs on the rail system. In the 30s, when oil and gas really got big over in East Texas, there were so many wildcatters coming in, punching holes just wherever somebody would let them, that, the state finally said, okay, we need to know where all these holes are going. So then they, okay, Railroad Commission, you need to start permitting each well, each hole. So that's when we picked up oil and gas. In the 40s, when they started the big inch and little inch pipeline running from East Texas up to New York to help feed World War II, that's when they said, okay, Railroad Commission, you go ahead and cover that, the safety and permitting of the pipelines. And then in 95, they said, okay, well, since you're already controlling all this other, go ahead and control the coal mines as well. And then in 2005, they gave TxDOT the railroad and left us with oil and gas pipeline and mining. And,
And the name.
and the name. And, Winston Churchill said at the end of World War II, this war was won on a sea of oil from a small field in East Texas. He was talking about Kilgore oil field, which is about 60 miles from where I live. He went on to say, he who controls the oil will win the next war. And, so we need to make sure Texans control the oil.
Darn right. Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Just one last question. So you referred to the wells, the abandoned wells as orphan wells. I've heard others call them zombie wells because of a gas that they release. Can you speak about on that?
Okay, so when they talk about a zombie well, they're talking about a well that's already been plugged.
Oh, okay, it's not the
And-
orphan well.
No,
Okay.
the wells that have been plugged a lot of times due to the pressure and corrosion and everything down below surface, the plugs fall out and then all that pressure release shoots water and oil up into the air. And, that's what Sarah talks about when she talks about the zombie wells. And, that's why we need to start repurposing the water to get it to reduce the pressures and stuff like that to avoid some of these issues.
I got a
Any-
question.
Yes,
You mentioned tariffs, giving people equal access to the tariffs for the trains. Can you explain that, if you know?
they, back in the day in the 1900s, when you carried a load of, let's say, wood to the rail yard, you had to pay a fee to get on the train, to get it loaded on the train to get it to the mill. Now, depending on who you were, small business, large corporation, friendly, whatever, then, that would, they could charge one person this price, the next company this price. So that's ultimately what the Railroad Commission was for, is to make sure that every company had equal access to the rail and it was all fair in the tariffs that were charged. Hope that answers.
Yep.
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, one thing, I have family, it just came to my mind, have family that have large pieces of land. And myself back then, I had a well. And the city came in and closed it off. And they ran water. Do you know why that's happening? Pretty much not only here in Texas a lot, but I know New Mexico's going through that. To me, water well is more refreshing, more natural, more than recycled water and toilet water,
Correct. I agree. I have a water well,
Okay,
so I wouldn't trade it for anything.
anything, right? I do own mine too. My house
So-
runs on water well, and I'm not gonna turn it in.
Yeah.
Now, if you receive a letter and it tells you that you have to switch, I mean, you don't have to do that, right? It's up to you, or is a mandate
You know,
here in?
I'm not one to
Ohio
answer.
County?
I'm not one to answer that question, but I can tell you I would fight with everything I've got to keep from it because, constitutionally, if that is your power or if that is your water well,
Yeah.
we, here in Texas, we have a right of capture. So anything that is under your land, you have the right to get it. And, they can't stop you from having your water well.
Oh.
Why do you think that's happening more and more and more?
Control.
It's all about control, and they're wanting to tokenize our aquifers, meaning they're wanting the water to be traded on the spot market, just like electricity and everything else, so that they can make more and more and more money. That's the root of everything. That's the problem.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, thank you. Great questions. I do want to point out that all of the speakers tonight, well, at least these three and myself, all veterans. So thank all of you veterans that are out there. Okay. Now we're going to have a wonderful woman who's traveled a long way and Air Force veteran. We love our Air Force because without them, Army has to walk. So here is Perla.
Pretty good, Mike.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having us. It is such a blessing. My name is Perla Munoz Hopkins, and I kneel for the cross and I stand for the flag. A lot closer to my mouth. Is that what you need?
There you go.
Okay. I am America first, Texas first, a conservative patriot running to be your next lieutenant governor of the great state of Texas. I am like he mentioned, an Air Force veteran. My husband and I were married through the Catholic Church 25 years ago.
Wow.
So we have raised three amazing children. They are all now in their 20s. Two of them are still in college at the University of Texas. Go Longhorns. And our oldest kiddo graduated in last May with her master's degree. So we are so excited to come back home to Texas. My husband is a sixth generation Texan, born and raised what they call BOI, born on the island of Galveston. And we desired nothing more when he retired after 22 years of service to come back home to our beloved Texas. However, it has changed so much. Our Texas that was centered on family values, on our faith, our just boosting economy, all of that has just, kind of fallen to the wayside. I now serve as a volunteer policy and parental rights advocate because I have a great background in education. I have a master's degree in adult education, a master's degree in teaching secondary, so focusing on 6th through 12th grade, but I have taught kindergarten through 12th grade. Also, I've been a university supervisor at places like Mississippi State University. I also speak fluent in Spanish. So one of my master's degrees is in Spanish literature. And I desired nothing more when my husband retired that he would take off a few years to make up for a lot of time deployed, a lot of time away from our family. So the idea was that he was going to be the stay-at-home dad for about 2 years or a little bit longer. He likes to write and just has a lot of God-given talent. So I wanted to support my husband like I always have in all our years of marriage. But when I was a teacher in Texas at Leander Independent School District, these unethical, unorthodox practices just slapped me in the face. It turns out that my very immediate supervisor, the principal of the high school where my daughter, my oldest, was also attending, was hired out of California and Oregon. Well, he was brought over by his friend, the chief of staff for the school district, that also came from California and Oregon. So these practices were everything that we hear as far as the woke ideology, the indoctrination of our children. And as soon as I started speaking up for my own kids, that became a problem. So I decided that not $1 is worth something harming my own kids or my other students. So I took off my teacher hat, I took off my mom hat, and I started advocating and fighting at the school board level. As a teacher, as a mom, I had never needed to speak to a school board. I didn't even know like what their meetings were like or that I could even go and speak at a meeting. But I started doing that, and little did I know, not only were my children being penalized for being military connected kiddos, um, they were receiving unfair treatment by the school district, but parents started exposing obscenities through our books.
Yes.
And I know that because I was a teacher there. So what's very unique about Leander ISD Independent School District in Texas is that they brought or bought hundreds of titles of inappropriate books that are anti-religion, especially depicting Catholics as just foul-mouthed individuals. And the graphic novels were something I would never, ever agree, and I will stand up for a child. In September of 2021, as I was talking to the school board members, I was helping a mom and her son talk about a book called Lawn Boy. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that title, but her son had picked the book up in his classroom because the hundreds of books that they bought were in the classroom libraries, and that is unique to that school district. So they were within hand's reach of the students. This mom had already been talking to her 16-year-old son, please don't pick a book that is inappropriate. So he picks up this book, and the cover has like topiary, these pretty bushes. So he thought, oh, this must be about Disneyland because he remembers, seeing those shapes, and it's called Lawn Boy. Well, it turns out that Lawn Boy, the main character of the book, is actually named Mike Munoz. But the book is written by, I'm not sure if he's maybe part Irish, but the book is written by Jonathan Evison, who decided to make the main character of this book, Mike Munoz. And the part of the story that the mom was exposing, and I was behind her holding a poster with some of these gross words. It had to do with Mike Munoz when he was 10 years old with another little 10-year-old boy at a church camp having relations.
Boo!
Disgusting.
The school board was just really, really upset at us. It was the 16-year-old student. How brave is that? He was holding up the little posters his own mom made. And the last poster said pedophile.
Oh,
The mom said, who would want to put this book in the hands of my son or any other children? Pedophiles.
Greg
They
Abbott.
looked at my poster.
Governor Greg Abbott, darling. That's who's doing it. That's who's done it.
He controls the Texas Education Agency. He appoints the education commissioner.
That's
We
right.
could have done something about this already, right?
Yes, 24 years. Attorney General before that. Absolutely.
And I'm running against the lieutenant governor. That's his,
Yes,
highest
yes,
advisor.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, then it came my turn to talk. I was right after her. And I was talking to the school board about the psychological trauma they were subjecting little children to.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it was because they had bought many, many titles of a book called The ABCs of Equality. And the ABCs of Equality is for the elementary school students, where they want to teach the little kids that S is for sex, T is for transgender, X is for xenophobia, O is for oppression, T is for, did I already say transgender? L is for LGBTQ. I'm looking at this in my head, and it's surreal to me that I am.
Weird.
Yes, I don't remember what the Q was for, but maybe so. And you had these teachers, especially from my children's schools, that just started this whole coalition. And they got an award for that, for fighting parents in making these types of instructional materials part of the school curriculum. Part of the school curriculum was also units in English class that are called social justice and activism. So when y'all saw all those student walkouts recently, anti-ICE walkouts,
Yes, yes, yes.
it is sometimes stemming from actual approved curriculum
Right.
and what they want our kids to be a part of. Instead of our children being able to enjoy safe havens that are supposed to be our schools, we have been hijacked.
That's correct.
I am part of the Republican Party because the Republican Party is the party of faith, of our God, of our family, and being patriotic. And we have removed everything from our children's lives, including Jesus, in our schools. And so I fight really, really hard. When I thought about that obscene book, my husband and I, we wrote our own books called the ABC, my American Classroom ABCs, and I also translated it into Spanish. But
Bravo.
you know, thank you so much. We believe that our children should be learning from wholesome texts, from appropriate and proper Texas history. So, you know, T should be for teacher, not for transgender. S should be for school and the sun. And it's beautiful because I have it in Spanish, and so everybody can learn from it. And I included the colors and the numbers. But that's just a little bit about me. When I took off my teacher hat, I never thought that I would be putting on a political one. So when I just was not getting any help with military connected issues, with the education issues, and I found out how badly this state is in education, we are ranked number 40 across or compared to the 50 states, yet we're paying some of the highest property taxes. I think we pay, we're sixth in the nation as far as how much we pay. It doesn't matter to me that we are, if we were considered a country, the 8th highest economy in the world. If we cannot produce critical thinkers, if our children are not proficient in reading and writing, 3rd grade is a very pivotal time of that. And if they're learning from trash, can you imagine? You know, what are we doing? So my top 3 priorities are, number 1, eliminate property taxes, because no Texan, thank you. No Texan should be taxed out of their own homes. My children's great grandmother in Galveston, Nana, she lived over 90 years old. She never had property tax relief. She paid her taxes until, you know, we lost her. And right now there's an average of 765,000 people that are just making ends meet. So are they, you know, able to buy the food that's so costly, and pay those taxes? So they're on the verge of having to perhaps sell their homes. We have the same thing with some of our ranchers and our farmers. And that's one of my priorities. I was very fortunate to work this past legislative session with a lot of good folks on eliminating property taxes and some of our lawmakers. One bill in particular was House Bill 1952 that would have provided us the opportunity to elect more CAD members or board members. So the Central Appraisal District, the CAD, those are the folks that are appraising our home values every year. Who here has ever gone to go protest their taxes? Yeah, I think I've,
All of us.
yeah, about in the last 8 years, I've gone maybe 3 times. My husband works a lot, so I don't, you know, he can't drop anything or everything and go and protest. And it's kind of like a waste of time unless you pay agencies to come and represent you. But I try, right? I try to be logical and use reason. But we shouldn't have to do that. So I propose certain measures that have just been presented, that our home appraisals shouldn't be done every year, maybe every 5 years.
Yeah,
But this bill would have allowed us to talk about legislation to elect the CAD board so that we, the people, are actually represented. On the other hand, we fought a bill proposed by a Democrat senator. She's actually a senator in my area. She wanted teachers to be on the CAD board. Well, that is a huge conflict of interest. So that bill was killed. We made sure that it didn't advance much. If the majority of our property taxes are going to the school districts, then why would we want educators that could be highly influenced,
We don't.
on
We
that
don't.
board? We don't, right? So that's my number one priority. I think that we can do better. I know that it's not something we can abolish or eliminate on day one, but on day one, we could go to work to give some of that $27 billion surplus back to the taxpayers.
That's right.
Yes. We need to audit, well, the whole state for fraud, waste, and abuse, but we have over 1,200 school districts in Texas. Some of those school districts are just 300 students. So if you think about like superintendent pay, and I'm not trying to harp on every superintendent, I know that there's some really good ones out there, but let's go back to the drawing board. Let's consolidate some of those school districts, for example. And so there's just so many plans that we could look at to see where the fraud, waste, and abuse is with our taxes and just have people of action. Right now, the lieutenant governor, he will come up with all kinds of proposals. There's 3 challengers to the lieutenant governor, actually. It's myself and 2 others that I don't know too much about. We all 3 happen to be military veterans challenging the lieutenant governor.
Wonderful.
And that sends a straight message. It certainly does. And I noticed that the lieutenant governor, maybe a month or 2 ago, proposed his double nickel operation. So you have that term there, a military term, operation. So he's now proposing, well, since we increased the homestead exemption for 65 and over, why don't we also do that, for 55-year-olds? Well, that sounds great, but he's asking for a 4th term. He has already served almost 12 years.
Just like Abbott. Just like Abbott. Crazy. That's right.
Something's got to give. And ma'am, I'm no longer begging the lieutenant governor to care about our livelihoods, to care about our Texas way of life, our constitutional rights, our God-given rights, and especially in protecting children. I've given up.
You've got my vote. I'm going
Thank
to
you.
change for all my friends now. Make sure they vote for you.
Thank you very much. That's the best way you can help me. I am an underdog. I can't,
You are.
fight against a $50 million war chest of his campaign funds.
No.
Can't afford the commercials and all of that. But y'all know what? God told me to still run in this race and that he would provide
Right.
and be fearless, march forward. And I know that I'm meant to be in this race and I trust the Lord's plan regardless of the outcome. If it was just, if it was just for me to support Dr. Pete Chambers
Yes.
for governor,
Yeah.
that is my mission.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
You do know that the largest union in the United States, it used to be number 1, SEIU is now number 1. But the National Education Association, I'm a former teacher from Seattle, Washington. Since the 80s, they have advocated LGBTQ for all of the United States. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Well, when they, I don't know if I actually got to finish telling y'all. So I talked about the psychological trauma with the ABCs of equality. And I did speak for, maybe 5 seconds later, they say 10 seconds. Well, the board president goes like this.
Oh, sure.
Get her out
Sure.
of here.
Sure.
And they didn't kick me out of the school board meeting at that time. It was when I turned around and I said, my name is Perla Munoz Hopkins, and I talked to the parents who knew me.
Right.
That is when they send in
Yeah. the
everybody
government's
to
gonna
come and
take
kick
you
me out. Yes.
I've had that done.
And the policemen, they knew me, and so I asked them not to put their hands on me, which they didn't, but the security officer director did. And they took away my First Amendment and also put me under official oppression. So with the police there, I did file my reports. I just, document. Yes, ma'am.
When you talked about the ice walkout,
Yes, ma'am.
so I was driving down the street and I drove by an elementary school and they had all these lined up kindergartners. The teachers had them outside. And I was like, how is that okay? How are they allowed to do that? Because those kindergartners don't even know why they're
Right.
standing out there. And this is federally funded money that the teachers are getting paid. How is that okay? I don't even have children that young in school, but I was furious. And I feel like that's indoctrination. And
Absolutely.
I was like, what a perfect time, instead of taking them to go stand outside, to talk to them about why we need ICE and that ICE aren't our enemies and things like that. That would have been a perfect time to have an open discussion for kids to talk about their fears or their families or whatever, to have an open discussion. But to line these little kids up, why are they allowed to do that? I don't understand. Like, my taxpayer money says that they need to be in class learning. You're just standing outside with them. How is that approved?
It's absolutely not. I can guarantee you there was no parental consent, that they send permission slips home. I seriously doubt it. And during this campaign trail, what I especially talk to parents about and our youth are, please do not let your little ones, your young adults be manipulated by a system that wants to use them as political pawns.
That's right.
It's just, it's so out of control. And what we were discussing earlier, the governor and the lieutenant governor both supported the appointment of the Texas Education Commissioner almost 10 years ago. So we have a failed system.
That's right.
We know that, we are so poorly ranked in education. We know that through the standardized testing, which is a whole other monopoly, and just exhausted, malfeasance. So why don't we have a change in education commissioners, number one, right? And I also propose that we perhaps make that an elected position, right?
Right.
If our governors can be counted on to make, thoughtful
Yeah.
choices at the expense of our children,
No.
then why don't we make that something that we choose, who holds that seat? Yes, ma'am.
I'm really out beyond that because I'm from Seattle, Washington, so I understand Washington State, Oregon, and California. We can't reform them. The NEA has permeated everywhere in the United. We only can close down public ISDs. I advocate that. The good teachers will come up. They'll open their own little schools. We need to return to our Bible schools.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
founding of America. We have to save our greatest resource, and that's our children. We can't let this continue. So,
Right.
end public, independent school districts, and that's where I'm at. And that's why I moved to Texas, because
Yes.
I had to leave Seattle for that reason.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So many have moved here, and again, to have to experience the same as these blue states has just been devastating, right? When they kicked me out of the school board meeting, the NEA that we were speaking about, the National Education Association, about 2 weeks later wrote the U.S. Attorney General to have the FBI investigate parents like myself. So I know how powerful they are.
They attempted to get me railroaded out of the district. And, but
I've been in your shoes.
I had to hire my own attorney in Seattle to
Yeah.
fight him, and of course I won. But I had to leave.
Yes. So that's my number 2 priority, education reform, because on day one, we can start fixing this. It would be amazing if we could just get rid of the independent school districts or the consolidated ones. However, we have over 5.5 million children in Texas public schools.
Yeah.
So on day one, should I be entrusted, should I be elected in this position? I would advise the Texas governor to replace the education commissioner. And number 2, start talking about how we're going to fix it, because we have so many children that are at stake.
Yeah.
We must consider our private school, parochial school leaders, and especially our homeschool population. So I had nothing to do with the actual school choice, the ESAs that were passed during the 89th. I decided that the governors know who I am, and if they would want my input, then they would call on me. But they don't want a mom like myself, an educator like myself, having anything to do with the Texas Education Agency, having anything to do with their decisions. And I tell you that because I have been working on the military education compact for military children for the past 3 sessions. So for 6 years, during the 89th, now that the child crimes have reached the schools on the military bases, do y'all, I don't know what the media is like here in this area. Do y'all know that there's almost on a daily basis educators, teachers being arrested for being inappropriate with children? Almost on a daily basis, you do know that?
Yes, you know that, the Texas scorecard has published a map. It's all over Texas.
Yes,
And then-
actually,
And then the key that matches it telling us, it's outrageous. So on
Yes.
that basis, close them all
the
down. I
database.
know the doc will do that for us.
Yes, I know that
We'll
on
just
day
do
one,
that.
because
Yeah, I
never,
think
never should we have predators in our schools. But two school years ago,
No.
the education commissioner has advised us that over 80% of the new teacher hires were non-certified teachers. So we have opened the door to child predators.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what our governors say is, oh, we're gonna have now an inspector general.
Oh, yes, I know.
At the
I saw that.
TEA.
Yeah, that's-
But that is not, they're just accepting what's going on.
That's
We
correct.
should never have our children exposed to sexual exploitation by an individual or through any kind of instructional
Want 'em all
materials.
arrested.
That
All
would be
arrested.
it.
That starts with
I
Adam.
speak as a teacher on
Yeah.
day one,
Yeah.
we would eradicate the power that empowerment that these predators have, because they know that nothing will be happening to them. They know that the school administrators will cover up their crimes.
The money
And-
has to follow the children. I don't want to support buildings. I don't want to support any of those administrators, all overpaid. I mean, my little Conatillo, that superintendent, 400,000 a year. Give me a break. They're all
Well, like I
it's
said,
outrageous.
during this bill that I worked really hard on with so many military veterans, generals, a whole army of child protectors, child advocates. The lieutenant governor just does not want that bill to pass.
Oh my God.
And I got a call from the Capitol attorneys. They asked me to remove a sentence out of that Military Children's Education Compact bill. And the sentence was that no personnel could work at schools that serve military children if they had a criminal arrest record having to do with domestic or sexual violence, right? Who wouldn't want that?
That's right.
Well, they told me that they needed it off because that was more of a civil issue, a civil penalty. And you know what? I said, fine, take it out, because I need this bill to pass. Because I also knew that we have been working on bills like HB 900 from 2023, the Reader Act, that was supposed to remove the obscenities, but that was also a poorly written bill. And I knew that this session, a lot of child advocates were working on House Bill 4623 that would take away the sovereign immunity from these school districts that cover up child crimes. So I said, take it out of the bill, but let's pass it.
Are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
aware of SB 12?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
now SB 12 is supposed to be reinforced in all the school districts, right? To remove all the material, posters, LGBTQ and everything. So can you please explain this a little bit?
Yes, so we did have a lot of legislation having to do with eradicating CRT and DEI from our schools.
Correct.
But we still see that problem. I propose, and I really don't talk about this because I can't imagine why our lawmakers haven't done it already, but we should never have any other flags on government-funded facilities, including our schools, other than the Texas flag and the American flag.
I'm gonna explain this. One of the terror and the problems that we have.
One of
The problems that we have in trying to remove that material. It's the school board.
Yes, ma'am.
School board, even if we have information from federal or state level, guess what? If I'm Democrat, I'm not gonna listen to them. Because I'm gonna do what I want in my school board. If I'm the board president, I'm not gonna listen whatever they want. I'm gonna do because we are a different authority.
Yes, you have local control as school
Exactly.
board trustees, and that is all the problem.
And I'm not gonna listen to them. I mean, if I'm Democrat, I'm gonna do whatever I want. It
Yes,
doesn't
ma'am.
matter the governor, it doesn't matter wherever it comes from. If it comes from
That's why
Washington,
they have to close
I'm gonna
them
do
all
what
down.
I want as a school board member or a president.
And school board.
I'm for
The State Board of Education is in charge of setting the curriculum standards, not much weight. But they are the folks that are primarily selecting the instructional materials, the
Yes.
textbooks. So that is something that is very
Which
important.
comes from Washington.
Yes, and some of that might be tied to the Epstein, you know,
Yeah, all of that.
compound of individuals, yes.
Marcy has a question.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. But yes, we have the local control, and that is because our school board members, our trustees are indoctrinated themselves.
That's what it
They are
is.
indoctrinated themselves,
Yes.
rather than they be the supervisors of the superintendents, their boss, through the Texas Association of School Boards, TASB,
Yes.
they are instead told to be a team of
And
8.
SBA, National School Board Association.
Yes,
as well.
ma'am, to
That's
be,
why we need more Republicans in school boards.
yes, absolutely,
We wipe them
absolutely,
all
yeah,
out.
and infiltrated.
Close down the ISDs, we wipe them all out.
They're like-
Yes, we don't need them.
What was it?
Don't need them.
I wanted to mention to you
Thank you.
that the Lord says they hated me before they hated you. So you're apparently doing very good.
Money
And
goes
let's
to children.
continue the fight. And my question to you is, the children trafficking, which
Yes,
has been increasing and will increase if we don't do something about it.
yes, ma'am. Just a few years ago, we were ranked number 8, unfortunately, in human trafficking cases, right?
Yeah.
We will be dealing with that open border from the Biden administration for many years to come. So many ramifications from that. Before I answer her question fully, I do want to point out that if our governor and lieutenant governor wanted to close the border, they would have done so on day 1. Did not have to wait to re-elect President Trump. We have become a retroactive state, one that looks at what DeSantis is doing or what Arizona might be doing, and then we, follow their steps. So, yes, absolutely, absolutely. We know, so many things that are just to keep us in the dark, to keep us fooled. And, I know that she was mentioning, we just cannot give up. There should never be any predators. And the House bills and the Senate bills are important, even though the local
Yeah.
school boards have
Yeah.
control.
Local
Yes,
government,
ma'am.
yeah.
And
But
we have the authority, we just don't use the authority.
Right. And we just need a lot of parents also to step up, regardless of how much our parental rights are eroded from us. We still can make a difference. And that comes with getting out there and telling everybody that we know to go out and vote. The reason why I don't need and I don't want PACs and individuals to control me. So I don't want their money because God told me our vote is our currency.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's all we need, our votes to put someone in like Doc Chambers,
Yeah.
someone like myself,
Sure.
James Matlock. I've never noticed in the short years that I've had to put on a political hat, just how many military veterans are running in the Republican
Yes,
primary.
it's wonderful.
Oh my goodness. It's the Lord's work.
It was
and-
another time.
Yes, and I am just so honored and humbled and blessed to be any part of that. Because we are on mission and
Yes.
primarily it is to protect children. The database that you were talking about, Bad Apples, the Texas Scorecard journalist is Erin Anderson.
Yes, she's fantastic.
We literally have an SREC, Republican Party of Texas resolution to acknowledge her work.
Yes,
You know,
she's been fantastic.
Good, good.
but y'all, it is work that has to do with predator teachers.
That's right.
What have we allowed to happen? And the lieutenant governor wants another term?
Yeah, how outrageous.
No.
And the governor, I'm gonna give me a break.
So my number 3, my number 3 priority is Texas is not for sale.
That's right, not for sale. Those men-
Even though they talk about, we have already halted those land grabs.
Yeah.
We know that there are possible ties still to the CCP in owning a lot of those solar farms,
Yeah.
the battery farms,
The
the
wind
AI data
farms.
centers, the wind farms,
Yeah.
all that equipment. And we also need to finally put a halt to the H-1B visas.
Yes.
We literally have teachers that do not speak English in elementary schools in Texas. Our children's jobs are being taken away. When they have the visa approved, it's not just the worker that comes from overseas. They are able to bring like their entire families. So during a time when the height of the Islamification of Texas is happening, we have had our lieutenant governor instead go flaunt his titles at the World Economic Forum with the globalists.
Our
And
governor.
Yeah,
That was
and the
Abbott that
governor,
did that.
yes,
Abbott.
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes.
Both work hand in hand, right?
Right.
Instead of standing on Texas soil
Yeah.
and declaring Texas a Christian state, America a Christian nation, I am being, and Sharia law.
And Sharia law.
That is why it is on our proposition. On your ballot, it will be Proposition
Yes, I
10.
see that.
And you are, hopefully voting for all of those propositions, which really are not amendments.
No,
So
they're
they
not.
don't hold much water.
No, they don't.
But if our governors are telling us that there is no Sharia in Texas, then why do we have it as a proposition, right?
There is.
It's just a never-ending circle of just entanglements of incorrect information. And Texas deserves much better. Texas deserves a lieutenant governor that is accessible, that is forward-thinking,
Yes.
and that is action-driven. So,
I fight
and
for Texas.
And people deserve
Yes.
much better.
yes,
Than what we
and
are
people.
living.
In 2022, I was the Republican nominee for the State Board of Education District 5, and over 237,000 Texans voted for me in 22 because they trust my leadership and my calls to action approach. So as a military veteran, if I see something, I say something.
Good.
And in 2019, this is dated September 6, 2019, I put out my first call to action. When I go to bat with any entity, in this case, it was the school board and superintendent, I am going to bring you my documentation.
Yeah.
I am not going to just run my mouth. I don't like listening to myself speak, actually. I don't watch, anytime I'm on the news or anything, I just don't like to watch it back. But I demand accountability, I demand transparency, and that is what I would restore back to the office of the lieutenant governor. The lieutenant governor's position is very important. The lieutenant governor is the president of the Texas Senate. So every bill goes through the desk of the lieutenant governor. Those bills are assigned to committees. The lieutenant governor assigns the senators to the committee, so it's important to have no conflicts of interest when these senators are being placed in committees. And we see that that's part of some of the fraud, waste, and abuse.
That's right.
What I said earlier is that I'm no longer begging. When I'm working on bills just on education and you don't want to pass them, with the Military Children's Education Compact bill, for example, my own senator did not want to sponsor the bill. The bill called for education fairness for students from Space Force families. So Texas is not honoring that education compact for our newest branch of the military, for those families. So why not pass that bill?
Right.
Why does my own senator not want to sponsor it? Why does the lieutenant governor not want to put it on the Senate floor for the last vote? Well, right before we were going to have the last hearing, because almost every Texas House representative voted for the bill, plus it's been rotated, like I said, for the last 6 years without approval. I got another call. I got emails. The Texas Education Agency wanted me to remove another short sentence from the bill.
Oh, wow.
And that sentence was that a teacher, former or current, that has had experience working with military-connected students would volunteer on the TEA Military Children's Compact Council, their commission. Just a teacher that's used to working with military kiddos. Well, they wanted me to also have them strike out that sentence. So what does that tell me? Yes, they absolutely do not want a parent like me on that board. And I didn't write it for me. I know many teachers, retirees especially, that would want to volunteer. Because when you fix the education system in Texas for the military kids, you fix it for all of them.
That's right.
So the lieutenant governor failed again
Oh, God.
and did not put the bill for its final vote because every senator would vote for it.
I hope you get this to Trump, okay?
Well, I have met President Trump.
We gotta
God
get it to
opened
him.
so many doors
Yeah.
on this journey of mine, this journey that I have with all of you, to make sure that Texas stays our constitutional beloved republic,
Absolutely.
that we eradicate and no longer feed the domestic and foreign threats to our law and order in this state. And that has to happen by each and every one of us stepping up.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a little bit more about the lieutenant governor's role. The lieutenant governor serves as the deputy advisor to the governor. And when the governor is absent, the lieutenant governor is governor at that time. Just very important. But what we have now is favoritism going on, and that's why some of our Republican Party of Texas legislative priorities don't get passed. If you don't vote in lockstep with the governor, then he might not have any of your bills passed. And I'm just fed up. Our children deserve the Texas that we all fight to keep, and our faith, our family, and our country is what we need to focus on. Yes, ma'am?
One question that I always ask any candidate that is, will be candidate of office.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've never been a politician. I'm a candidate going for Congress, 16th district.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason why I came into, participating as a candidate is because throughout this 5 years, I have been pursuing justice
Yes, ma'am.
for many people, not just, it was originally for my husband, but again, thank you for bringing Greg Abbott a lot. But Greg Abbott knows me very well. Ted Cruz knows me very well. Paxton knows me very well. Veronica Escobar knows me very well. Practically the politicians.
Yes, ma'am.
And throughout my travel, because I did go to Washington, D.C., seeking for Trump, because nobody would listen to the story. But anyways, my question to you is that throughout this 5 years, every election, I have pursued the candidates and asked them the question about and I'm representing the voice of the people. Okay, so that's why I'm asking you this. I have been ignored completely. Okay, like my husband didn't matter, like he wasn't a human being, etc. So my question to you is that, as per I hear you, young lady, so far I like everything that you have said, but I believe that instead of separating, dividing, jurisdictions, instead of dividing, we should unite.
Yes, ma'am.
Because when we unite, then we can gather together and form the Lord's army.
Yes, absolutely.
And I believe that is strongly happening right now. And hopefully that, I get to work with you eventually. not as in your office, but I'm just saying together if I become, in Congress. And I do want to ask you, will you be listening to the voice of the people, especially when there's so much criminal activity going on, crimes against humanity, which most of the people, they don't speak about, and our lives are in danger at all times. Our nation is in danger. So that's my question to you.
Yes, ma'am. I believe in our government, just like our founding fathers meant to be run by citizens, by and for we the people. That is why I'm challenging the lieutenant governor. I do not believe that he understands the plight of the everyday Texan, of what we have to do or struggle with when it comes to the affordability in Texas. What we have to struggle with just in trying to retain our parental rights in education. Like I said, my family, we survived public education. My kids are now older. But I will not give up on making sure that our children are safe. So it's all about we the people. It's all about representation for ourselves. I should mention this. We have never had a woman elected as lieutenant governor. That might be insignificant, but it's really important because when you think about it, we have had 2 female governors and they've both been Democrats. We have also never had a woman veteran elected as a Texas state senator. There has only been 1 woman veteran elected to the Texas legislature, and that is through the Texas House of Representatives, and it is a current state representative that is a Democrat. So I believe that I could be very useful in this position because maybe we do need a mom in the office of the lieutenant governor.
Yes, that's right.
We possibly could do very well by having a teacher. How amazing would it be to have a doctor, a surgeon as governor, right? A military veteran, a man of God that will put we the people first,
I
right?
want to thank you so much, and maybe now it's time for the doctor.
Yes, yes, yes.
Please,
So,
please.
I appreciate y'all very, very much, and I'll be here for questions afterwards. God bless y'all, and this means a lot to me. So.
Okay, so the main man we came to visit or see and talk with, a fellow Army veteran, Doc Chambers.
Yeah.
Bravo!
And so I'm gonna set this down for a second, because I gotta give away 2 things here. 2 things. I didn't know it, but I had a family member here in this house. So I'm gonna put this down. I'll be back. So this is gonna go to my bride, because she's cold. I could see it over there. She was just, and this is gonna go, welcome.
Oh,
Ralph, this is a special forces tab. This is what we get as Green Berets. Your husband was a brother to me, even though I didn't know him. So it makes you family.
thank you so much.
When she told me that her husband served in 10th group, I was a 3rd group guy. I'm like, you're family. We take
Thank
that very
you so
serious.
much. Appreciate that.
And I mean that, because we are brothers.
Thank
And I've served with brothers and sisters, but for my unit, it was all men. And so I'm gonna go, because we do have a flight, we gotta get out, because our vehicle had a major malfunction. We lost a window on the trail. Because the semi came too close and sucked it out. It's life. So we flew out here, and we gotta leave at 9, so.
At least you made it in one piece, baby.
We made it in one piece. Satan has tried to stop us from coming here. How many times? 6?
For months.
For months. Venues, cancel. Venues, cancel. We don't want that guy here. We don't want that guy here. It's okay. What is it? My number 1 word is we gotta be
Relentless.
relentless.
Yep.
We gotta be relentless. We gotta be relentless. We have to unite the tribes. We have to unite the clans. If you're Irish, Scots Irish, I don't care what color your kilt is. I don't care. Like Braveheart. We've got to come in with a lot smaller army. But guess what the army of God is? A lot greater. I heard you say that. I'm glad you asked that question. We'll save that one. But honestly, we've got to unite from El Paso. Guess what? Odessa, if you're out there listening, you're not the end of West Texas. I heard it the other day.
Is that even West Texas? Is that even West Texas?
This is West Texas. I spent so many times out here at McGregor training to go to Middle East because it looks just like it.
Yeah.
I spent so many times flying in and out of this base over here, going back and forth to the sandbox. There we go. There's another child. It's sad. I've spent so many times, driving up and down the streets here to go see friends when I was here on these deployments. It's become kind of a second home. And then our county human trafficking team, when I took off my uniform and then put on the Army of God armor, Ephesians 6, we've been in tunnels right here on the border of New Mexico. This gentleman right here led us to the first one, where my dog and I went inside. He said, we got to back out because we don't know if there's fentanyl here. That'll kill a dog. Kill me too. So this is real. This is the real world. And we live in the real world. We're in the most beautiful place in El Paso right now. So thank you for letting us come out here. This is a paradise, right? But not too far from here. It's not a paradise. It's not a paradise. It wasn't a paradise for 12,500 people that were pushed here. I flew over the border while that was happening. Flew over, watched federales pushing people across the river. Watched federales doing that. Right? That was a scheme. That was a plan. That was an organized transfer migration to take innocent people and tell them they're going to give you everything in America. It's not your typical folks from Mexico coming across to get jobs. Some of my best friends that served in the unit in McAllen with me, in William Barrett Travis's unit, right? The commander of the Alamo, that unit that I was in is the 3 of the 141, the last unit that I served in the United States military. I came in the infantry, I was in Green Berets, and then when I got to Texas National Guard, they said, you're going to the border, and you're going to McAllen. I lived in Mercedes in my trailer. Mercedes, not the car. The city. I lived right next to an orange grove in a sorghum field. And I would take care of my troops all the way from McAllen to Pasapata, Del Rio, sometimes the Big Bend. And every once in a while out here. And I was here for you because you are important, El Paso.
Thank you.
I put 21 Americans in a body bag and put an American flag on it and sent it home in a dignified transfer from downrange. And now the war has showed up on our border in our state, and it's not a kinetic war. No shooting, right? Yet. Because the 120 countries that came across, which are not those people that came across to get a green card, to work, to go back, to pay for their families down there, not those folks. We can live like that. We can work together that way. My dad didn't come. My dad came to America from Eastern Europe, changed his last name, assimilated to U.S. culture. My dad's last name, how do you say it? El Griego. He's Greek, right? He came to America, American woman, and never once taught us the language. He already knew how to speak English because he fought with the United States in World War II against Germans and then fought to save his country from communism. So as a young kid, I was the most patriotic kid you ever saw. I did parades with my cousins on 4th of July. I ran around the woods, we had our horses, and go out there and play Army all day long. And they told me at 17, I'm going to go take you down to sign up. So, yes, sir. And 18 years old there was at Fort Benning, and that's my story. It started there. Ronald Reagan was the president at the time, 1983, 9 September 1983. I'm going to make the story short because I want to talk to you more, because we do have to leave at 9. But I want to talk to you because I want you to know me and I want to know you, because this is 2, right? And this is 1. So I got it here. This is the way it works, right? So I'm an unconventional warrior, Green Berets. What we learn how to do is go to foreign places and learn their languages and convince them to fight bad guys in their country, some of those which are their government.
That's right.
Because of freedom, because of oppression, because of tyranny. So when William Barrett Travis was inside the Alamo, he said, this is the day it was written, 24th of February. This is the day that it was written. Travis letter. And did you know that about 80% of them were Tejanos, Texians, originally from Texas. And Americans came over here and said, we want to go live there too. Santa Ana wasn't too nice to them, right? So they got in a fight. So they're sitting in the Alamo, and Texas would not exist today and be part of the United States if some people didn't stand up and say, fellow citizens and compatriots were besieged on all sides by enemies under, at that time, Santa Ana. But right now, the enemies are under, what is this? What's the scripture? Romans 8, right? Ephesians 6, yes. Romans is a different one. Ephesians 6. Principalities, rulers of darkness, evil one. You cannot just be a singleton being and not know that something else exists I can't separate church and state in my life. I can take care of you. I can bleed for you. I have. There's another thing on there that I don't give away. That's a Purple Heart. Because I'm willing to take that hit. Like I said, 21 of them who also got Purple Hearts didn't go home. Some of them, my friends, very good friends that I went through training with, that I knew their families, that I went home and spoke to their moms and said, your son, your dad, your husband was a great soldier. And he stood the line and he stood his post until properly relieved. That's our first general order. Anybody in the Army knows that. You guard everything with the limits of your post and quit your post only when properly relieved. Why is there a time, a place, and a moment where the people are seeking watchmen? Ezekiel chapter 33. If the watchman doesn't tell you, it's on his head. So when I sound the alarm on the border and I say to the governor, in the current governor, in the hangar in Del Rio, when 17,000 Haitians showed up behind us, we tried to hold them off that night. It was about 700 at the time. There were only 40 of us on the border at that time. We're trying to hold them off. And then here comes the sun. And they went, wait a minute, we can go around them. And we saw them, and there were 17,000 of them. 40 of us. There's some Border Patrol guys, and there were some DPS guys. And it wasn't until you saw the news when 400 troopers showed up and helped us out. Right? We were in a fight, a physical fight. People don't see that on the news. They don't want to show that on the news. Bill Malugin, Fox News, he was down there. I'm in Roma, and Miguel Alemán on the other side, and a 50 cal lets loose from the Mike side, from Mexico, fires up into town, goes into Roma, and hits a civilian in the belly. He went to his wall of his house. You don't see that on the news, do you?
No.
I'm there with Bill Malugin, and I said, turn that camera on. That's a 50 cal. How do you know? I said, because I know what a 50 cal is. That's shooting up on the bluffs over there. I'm at the low water crossing looking up the bluffs. You know who was up there? Texas sons and daughters guarding our border.
Bravo.
Right? Let me ask you this. Military members, think about this. If you got the rules of engagement that said, if somebody shoots at you from the Mexican side, cartel guys, get in your Humvee and drive away.
Hell no.
Hell no, because that's not Texas. That was our rules of engagement.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucked for us. You know what I told my guys in the 3 of the 141 that's got a battle streamer that says the Alamo on it? I said, I don't care. I will take the hit. Shoot back and protect yourself.
Darn right.
Yes.
Our boys did.
Darn right.
We got yelled at. We got chewed out. We've been chewed out before.
Yeah.
We can handle that. Because we're going to survive. We're not going to turn this thing to some kind of cartoon character led state that's going to turn into a communist country someday. It's not.
That's right.
Not on our watch. We're going to usher in 150 years of freedom for Texas. I won't be here. I won't be here in 150 years. But the legacy that we'll leave will be here for our sons and daughters. I got a grandson from my daughter, natural daughter. I had an adopted son. He's got a child now. So I'm a double-time grandpa, right? And he's a beautiful, both of them, beautiful little boys. I want them to have water. I want them to have electricity they can afford. I don't want them to be part of the 40% of Texas that can't afford a home because of stupid property taxes that are unlawfully plundering the citizens. Look at history. If you read Bastiat or Locke or any of those people, Bastiat, this was during the French Revolution, said, America is a great place. They don't unlawfully plunder their citizens. That was in the 1700s.
Right. Guess
what? We're sitting at the French Revolutionary times
Yes.
because we have a hybrid color revolution that's going on without you knowing it. Was a guy that used to have to create those things downrange in other countries to fight ISIS, to fight whatever, you name it. Al Qaeda in the Maghreb, Trinidad and Aragua if you're going to go down south, if you're in 7th group. Right? I was a 3rd group guy, so I had to go to Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, deal with Boko Haram, and all these states that only want only one thing, and one thing only. That's called a caliphate. And a caliphate means world domination. It's not. Has nothing to do with religion. A caliphate only wants to dominate
That's
with,
right.
with power, with danger, with hurting people, right? Killing people. Because if you don't,
They have this thing called the verse of the sword. You know what the verse of the sword says? You can cut off their heads if they don't assimilate to you.
Right.
You don't get to come to Texas and not assimilate. Okay, you don't want to, keep your culture. Keep it in your doors. You put that on our streets, you make us put street signs out that says some kind of different name. You create lily pads. Those lily pads, over the past several years, when I was talking to the governor in the Del Rio hangar on a knee, because I'm looking face to face, because he's the commander in chief, guess what? Of the 30th largest army in the world. That's what Texas is. Texas State Guard, Texas National Guard, Texas Air Guard, DPS, Texas Rangers, and some various other assorted units. Job description number 2. You are the commander in chief of all Texas forces. That's a serious responsibility. And if you don't use it, and you just write a strongly worded letter that says that we're not going to have Sharia law, without authorities, to guys like me on the ground, or you, without authorities, that's a piece of paper that's not worth, I'm going to be nice here, learning. Not worth it, right? But when you do give authorities to hard men and women who can do hard things and do bad things to bad people, because my first day on the border, right there in Roma, I looked at the port of entry. On the Mike side, 3 bodies hanging upside down. There's a sign on them. One of them was a child. The other 2 were adults. Their heads were missing. Their hands were cut off. There was a sign on. This is ugly, and I'm sorry, but I'm a watchman. And the sign said, we did not pay the piso, the tax. We did not pay the cartels. The cartel del Noreste at that particular location, they fight with the cartel Nuevo Generation. There's always a fight going on in Miguel Alemán. We can watch it. We can have popcorn. Don't bring it to our side. They used to come across while they were fighting each other. They come into the U.S. side to use that to end around on the guys on the other side. We had to stop that. They say there's not a shooting war down there. You'd be surprised at what goes on. It doesn't make the news, right? There's islands that have been contested. We'll get to questions, yeah, because I gotta make this roll. There's islands that have been contested over that the cartels believed that they owned it, but it was Texas, the Pata down there, down by the Butterfly Sanctuary, right? Which is also a no-go zone for Texas law enforcement because the cartels own it. I'm sorry, cartels, your days are over.
Right on.
I'm sorry.
Right on.
If you're a barbarian, we don't negotiate with you. Right? I could say something like terminate with extreme prejudice, but if I do, that's too extreme. Right? But you don't negotiate with barbarians. The cartoon characters are leaving soon. And when they're gone, serious people will go to work. People like Perla, who will be in as your lieutenant governor. Right about it? And for us, the platform is like this. I'm going to explain it, then we go some questions because I'd rather do that. If you haven't figured it out, physical security is my bottom line. Because without that, everything else keeps rolling to where we're at.
That's right.
Physical security. But that also includes something in this thing right here that a family gave me down in Nacogdoches. This is an 1930 copy of the Constitution of the state of Texas. And the family gave it to me. They said, take care of this. We want you to be governor. This is old. It's beat up. Here it is. I'm going to tell you who has the most political power in the state of Texas.
People.
With the people.
You know it already. Lieutenant Governor has that. I'm going to call it this way. They herd the cats in the House and the Senate side, right? That's a tough job. I don't want that because I'm not. I probably would throat punch somebody verbally throat punch. I can't talk dangerous. I'm going to read this to you, Bob. I'll just tell you what it says. Bill of Rights. And if you go to the Capitol and you look at, there's another building over there. It's a library of something, Congress or something like that. And right on the side wall, it says Article 1, Section 2 of the Bill of Rights. All political power is inherent in the people.
Amen.
Right? It's for their benefit. That means I'm going to have to change the job, just like the railroad commissioner. The name. I don't like the term governor. It's a British word, governor. Right? I like senior public servant. That's what I like. Because who is the greatest of these in the book of James, in the book of Mark, and other places? When when Jesus is washing Peter's feet, and he said, who of us is the greatest? It's the servant.
That's right.
And it's not to be greatest, it's just to have that heart
Yeah.
where the center of gravity is not things, GDP, okay, the triangle, okay, crude oil coming out. It's great. We're sitting at number 40 out of 50 states on education. Do we care about our kids?
Yeah.
When we don't have a task force for countering human trafficking. When I go and speak to the Texas Rangers, and I know them all at the top, so I work with them on the border, and they say, well, the end state or the major crimes list and the things that are covered, they're ranked. That's set by the governor because he's our commander in chief. Okay. Where does counter human trafficking? Where's human trafficking sit? It doesn't make the top 10 in Texas. We've got the largest city in Texas with the largest amount of human trafficking in Houston and other places where they take the kids off the street, or 350,000 kids, niños and niñas that are missing, that are unaccompanied minors from other places. When I see two little girls come to me and say, I'm safe, and then I hand them to Border Patrol and they're missing, and I don't know where they're at, that breaks my heart. Because that's, when you see those eyes, that's heaven. When you don't know where they're at, that's hell.
That's right.
We have a lot of titles, but no representation. That's what
No
it is.
representation. Titles. You know what John Wayne said about titles? Fancy titles? I got no use for them.
Right.
That's
What he
Right
said.
on.
I don't got any use for them. When I got fired from the border because I did informed consents that said, I'm not giving the shots to these soldiers, these sons and daughters, because the first one that got a shot on the border had a stroke, 30 years old. He still has a problem speaking. That was a few years ago. The second one was 27 years old, had a myocarditis, pericarditis, like a heart attack. It's
Oh,
better, but his heart is not better. And so I said, no, I can't give the shots. And they sent the 2-star general down, and I'm a lieutenant colonel. There's a game that they like to play. It's called rock, paper, rank.
Yeah.
And they thought that they were going to win until I became a whistleblower. And they took me off the border. And he said, yeah, it's not about the science, Doc. It's about the policy. Get with the program. Sir, that's an unlawful order. I can't. I have to give the shot. I have to give the informed consent. They're not going to take it because I've already done 3,000 informed consents. We had 10,000 soldiers on the border. And out of the 3,000 informed consents I gave, only 7 people took it. It was their choice. Right? That's great. There's a lot better than 6,000 of them taking it.
that's right.
Right?
Right.
So it probably affected the health of more than people than I ever put my hand their guts down range saving them on the battlefield. I testified in SEALs versus DOD. They got the mandates dropped. Imagine being the guy that's standing there, the first exhibit, and I'm the guy in a federal court case just under the Supreme Court that has to testify against my parent organization, the Department of Defense. Can you imagine what they do, that Lieutenant Colonel? I'm going to tell you what they do. And I'm not crying about it. It took them 2 years after I retired to get my first paycheck, retirement check. The paperwork was lost. We can't find your DD-214. Okay. So you see, there's a shadow thing that exists that makes life miserable for people to tell the truth.
Right.
But did not our Lord and Savior teach us that the truth shall set us free?
Yes.
Did he not pay the ultimate sacrifice and cover us in his blood to save us for eternity?
Yes.
So what is that really? Like Paul, he had a thorn in his side. He said, I count it as gain. I count that as gain. Because that's going to tell now, not knowing what was going to happen to me in the future, that I'm going to be running for senior public servant. But do you want somebody who's going to stand up against the federal government and say, no, when they overstep their certain enumerated powers?
Right.
Do you want somebody that's going to stop Austin from overstepping into your local level? Politics?
Right on.
Right?
Yeah.
It goes the same way. It goes 2 ways. You don't get to be the king. And so I'm a term limit guy. I don't know what the right amount of terms is. I'd love to have a constitutional convention on that, right? To fix that. I would also like to have a constitutional amendment on the Permanent University Fund, PUF. 15% of crude oil that comes out of the ground in West Texas in public land goes to 2 universities. Look it up, Permanent University Fund. The only way to change it is a constitutional amendment. Goes to Texas A&M and UTA. If you're a graduate there, it's not your fault. It's the fault of the governor for not assigning regents that would get rid of the woke DEI policies.
Right.
Had legislation on the 88th session. They said, okay, well, we won't have an office on campus, but we'll still let you teach the same stuff. No, no mas. We're done with that. Okay, so let's get serious here. How are we gonna do this? We're gonna take the $4 billion that comes out of it. I believe it's annually. I know it over several years. It's a lot more than that. And we're gonna put that down at the public school level. It's gonna require a constitutional amendment. This is gonna be a heck of a deal. So we're gonna have fun doing it because we're gonna make people cry because they use that for investments. They don't use it for the schools, for investments. You know who they make work there for free? Check this out. F1 visas. F1 visas are the big part of the funnel that end up in H-1B visas coming out. F1 visas are people from other countries that come here and preferentially are given jobs at universities so the university doesn't have to match the FICA.
Right.
They don't pay the FICA. So now you're paying kids that are working on their graduate level. Are there any Texas kids looking for jobs in school? I would imagine so. Now we're starting to figure out the game, the shell game, right? So then when the H-1Bs come in, they give them preferential treatment because they learned certain training that's a federal requirement that's only taught in places like Mumbai. Period. So how are we going to fix that? All right, de-incentivize corporations that are not working to hire Texans. Number one. Number two, in the school system, give our kids who are all technology savvy now at 16 years old a VOTEC track where they can learn how to do that data input because it has to do with technology and talking to people on the phone. I'd like to speak to somebody in English, please. And the finance sector. Right? So there you go. You think our kids want to come in to be 18 years old and get out into a workforce where they can make that kind of money? Yes, they want to be able to do that.
They sure
But because we're giving the H-1B visas out of that funnel, the F1 funnel, into the H-1B funnel, preferential treatment. Guess what? If you're a corporation doing that in Texas, de-incentivized.
That's
If you're
right.
from a foreign country and you want to buy land here, if you're an American and you want to go to England and buy land or Canada, I don't know why you would.
Saudi Arabia.
Australia, Mexico, guess what? They charge them more taxes to buy that land. Why can't we do that in Texas?
Yes.
We can.
Yeah.
We have to. Because you're grabbing our land, you're turning them into Airbnbs, you're taking away land by eminent domain to build water reservoirs. Talk about the Nichols way over on the Piney Woods. That's my Tyler. And you're trying to steal land from Texans, steal water from Texas. I'm sorry, Texas, we're done with being the world's investment tool. Okay, we're done. Because those things took place over the last 11 years when we incentivized them, the big corporations to come in with technology, we've lost our farming. We shut it down. We shut it down with Tyson's, the largest meat packing plant, where my family sends their cattle to. The largest meat packing plant in Texas, Tyson's. I don't like it because we're invested by BlackRock, but that's a whole other story. What we got to do is we got to do better. So that's my spiel. Oh, by the way, these are my flags, just so you know. We actually intentionally set our donation page. So if anything comes from another country, you can't donate on it. Right? If the if the IP address comes from another country, it doesn't come to our account. We don't take it because this flag right here I wore on my shoulder in combat. That's the only flag I wore on my shoulder. There's many like it. This one is mine. This one is ours. This is the only flag. Now, this is not the original because that one's still on my body armor. This is the only flag that I wore on my body armor right here. It's a big one. It's a Texas flag. It's the Velcro thing. It sticks right there. That's the only flag I wore. I don't take money from any other country. The largest donation, it's out there, is $20,000 from a roofer in Blanco, Texas. A friend. Did he ask me for anything? Yes, he did. Would you come and have dinner with me? I said, sure. That's it. That's it. This is about honesty, integrity, and the fact that a legacy has to be left that says he didn't bend. He didn't take anything that wasn't his. He didn't sell out. He didn't get coerced. Money, ideology, coercion, and ego are why people flip. Money, ideology, coercion, and ego. He wasn't coerced. His ego was in check. Right? We all have one. I can't help that. But I've learned through many years of being a commander, you exude confidence and you demonstrate competence, and people will follow you through a wall. That's a fact. My commanders have taught me that as a young private. I'd follow them anywhere. anywhere, I promise you. And when I had troops downrange and when my medic team had to go out and run into the battlefield and go pick somebody up, we didn't care if they were shooting. We would look at the machine gunners and say, I need you to provide me some cover fire, and we're gonna call shift in just a second. And we would call shift left, shift right. And we would move and we would save lives. The same intensity that I gave them, I'm giving you. That's it, right? So, thank you. Well, I'm not gonna finish with this, but I'm holding my hand to remember. It's gonna be something important to share. First question, and then we'll go.
Anthony Aguero, the American Border Story, sir. Quick question. Governor Abbott has done nothing in the face of this border crisis for our angel families. What kind of support or assistance would you be willing to give them, and how are we going to take care of Colony Ridge? Thank you for your time.
There's a few issues there. So Colony Ridge allegedly has people living there that are illegal. Allegedly is a scheme that has been investigated by the federal government and Paxton, right? Allegedly. We don't know. They're innocent until proven guilty. But we know that they've given a lot of money to Abbott's campaign, right? So we have to investigate. We have to finish the investigation, right? Because you can't harbor anything. We're not allowing any more sanctuary cities. It's going to be the 18th largest city in Texas very soon. Right? It's development out there in Liberty County. So until we know, we don't know. Right? Angel families,
Yes, sir.
Gold Star families, families that have lost veterans that didn't get the care that they needed, all of those in the same category.
Okay.
Which is, we've got to do better. Got to do better.
100%. Thank you for your time, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. All right. We got 10 minutes? All right, so 10 minutes. I know we got to meet some of you, and I definitely want to talk there. So got one hand in the back. And then
If legislation was put before your desk to prohibit the federal government from mobilizing our Texas National Guard in
Yes.
that zone overseas, would you sign that bill?
100%. Yes, exactly. Because I've said this a few times on the trail, but I'm going to repeat it. If the federal government doesn't have a formal declaration of war, which has happened to me, guess what? How many times in the Texas National Guard? 4 times in 8 years. Now, 2 of those were short trips. I get it. 2 of them are at least 6 months. We cannot, by letter of the law, take Texas National Guardsmen and move them out to some other country to fight a war, whatever. But it's not a war, right? An action. Yeah, I would stand very firm on that. Yeah, but that's a great question. Yes, ma'am. Well, there was another one here, but I'll.
Speaking about the veterans, my husband was in the mercenaries.
Uh-huh.
And since I became the widow, I have had the hardest time, collecting what was due to him at the time, before he passed on.
Uh-huh.
I've been given so many departments, so many places to speak with. I even went to Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. But I believe strongly that we should consider our veterans because, like you said, they put their life in line. And why do we have so many homeless, That is the question. I don't understand.
Because we need a heart transplant. True. But yeah, of course, yeah, I'm going to be the veteran proponent. I'm going to be that guy. They know that. When I run into guys down there on the river in the Guadalupe, when we had that flood, we spent about a month down there. And I had 2 guys from the Texas National Guard come up to me and say, 2 young guys, thanks for standing in the gap for us and not letting us get those shots. Well,
Like my friend here, he also is a veteran.
Yeah.
And he's had the hardest time collecting his.
Well, that is, I'm not going to pass the buck, but that's a VA thing. But Texas also has a veterans organization. We have to promote that better.
Sorry, how can you work? I know that when it was open borders, the Border Patrol lost, they were babysitters.
Yes, ma'am.
They were,
Watch it.
they were, their hands were tied.
Yeah.
How can you, once in office, how can you work?
Great question. So it's Texas State Guard. We have a Texas State Guard. It works more like a humanitarian group right now. It's just not built to handle those kind of situations. We have $36 billion sitting in a fund for emergencies. When the federal government, when the state of Texas issues an emergency, 2 things happen. 1, local taxes go up. That's the first thing that happens. And we don't pull those off sometimes. We still have some places that from Harvey because of the damage that was done. Been a little while. When they do that, the federal government kicks in 75% of those emergency funds. We have a fund right now that exists for emergencies. There's already been an emergency declaration on the border. We already had that. We need to take that money and put it in the state guard to then give assistance to the people on the border the next time. Trump has cut the numbers down. It's great. Good job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're in charge of the federal borders. But for me, I have to be ready for the next time that a president comes in that doesn't do that. Right? You don't make it happen. You don't build the plane in flight. Right? We've outrun our headlights so many times because we were not prepared for the situation. So day one, state guard, people join, every able-bodied man and woman who wants to join the state guard to help either in a humanitarian way or grab a rifle, former law enforcement who have credentials through TCO, Texas Council on Law Enforcement. We put them back to work. Volunteer. But the remuneration for that is going to be they don't pay property taxes, period. Because now the state is giving back to them for their volunteerism.
Nice.
Right? So we give them a break. Then when Sheriff Coe down in Kenny County calls me and says, Pete, I got 6 deputies. I don't know what to do. I'm with the National Guard down there working over at, this is in Kenny County. So it's Rackettville. All right. So they only got 6 deputies, but because the governor's head of DPS is controlling the funds, right? So they push the problem down the right because the funds come from the federal government. They want to keep that money. Well, we're not going to dedicate to help you in the truest sense of helping you because you got 6 deputies. We can take the state guard and go, boom, I need to flex about 1,500 of you guys over there. We handle that problem immediately. Let the federal government do what they have to do. That's the Border Patrol. I can't affect that what they do, but I can assist them, right? In a real way, not just watching through binoculars saying, here's 200 people tonight. Hey, I got 900 people. We win. No, that's the game that was played. And it's a bunch of hockey because that was an optic. And the reality is we did nothing. And you're supposed to stop it. So when I was on that knee talking to the governor, he asked me, how many Green Berets do we have on the border? I said, you got 1. We need more. So we go after these guys. Okay, well, we'll talk about it. Right? We need more. I told him, I said, you heard of one riot, one ranger? I literally told this to the governor. He said, yeah, I've heard of that. I said, well, 1 humanitarian crisis, 1 Green Beret. We need more. That's what I said. He laughed. He tried to pet my dog. I went, quit touching my dog. At that time, I didn't know what was going to happen later on. This was all going to be a facade. Okay, finally get to that.
How's it going, Doc? Well, thank you for being here first and foremost.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for making some time coming to El Paso.
You're worth it.
So I did some time with the 87 legislation, predominantly with Mays Middleton, trying to pass the shared equal parenting bill, HB 803, back in the 87 legislation. We did get 22 bipartisan sponsorship for the bill, and that's having equal parenting if both parents are fit and able and willing, right? What I found really unusual is why do we keep having Democrats on top of these chairs, on the committees of these chairs, here in Texas? And we probably as what happened with this bill, it didn't hit the House floor when you have 22 sponsorships.
What was the bill number?
803.
So you know the higher the number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to fix the border patrol. I mean, not border patrol. The state guard was 4914. So you can tell you where the priorities are.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So now, so when we got back, all of us who were involved in this bill in our own family courts, we got persecuted for it.
Of course you did.
Now there's a class action lawsuit spearheaded by a friend of mine. I am addended onto this lawsuit. However, last week, this is in Tarrant County, they just evicted him from his home. The state has possession of his house. He was incarcerated. And this guy, he's in charge of the encryption for the entire U.S. banking system. He came from China to come to America, the land of the free, to only be faced to the same type of communism he grew up with in China. It's just the bureaucracy here in Texas is getting out of hand.
Right.
We say, as Republicans, we're all for protecting the sanctity of life. at the womb, and
Pursuit of
what happens after the womb. Kids deserve both parents. They also deserve both grandparents as well. As our grandparents is where we share the most knowledge being passed on to our generations.
So there's many family courts, there's many CPS agents, and there are many things that take place that fall under the category of lawfare. That's lawfare. The guy that's going to be in charge of the task force for that, is a guy named Stuart Rhodes, constitutional attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Took a beating on J6, didn't do anything illegal.
Political prisoner.
He was completely exonerated from everything by Trump because he didn't have anything that was really a charge that they could come up with that would actually stick. But they were going to keep him there for several years, and he was exonerated of that completely. So that's the guy you want because he's a constitutional attorney, a veteran as well, recon guy, airborne recon guy.
Oh wow!
I know he's tough. And he is. I met him, and he came down to the river too, by the way.
He did a shotgun kid.
So you know who the guy is, and I trust him. He came down the river, helped us out. So that's kind of thing. But we've got to have that lawfare task force to keep them in check. We've got to. I mean, we got to revamp the child protective services because a lot of these kids are being taken away needlessly. We got to talk to judges about originally in a civil court, well, especially in a family court. You don't have the same authorities that a criminal court has, right? They're abusing it.
Yeah.
Right, because that falls under the 4 things: ego, a lot of ego in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
A lot of money.
a lot of money. Every time a kid gets moved, same thing with the NGOs. Every time a kid gets moved, transfer of money takes
They
place.
make trillions of dollars on that.
Trillions of dollars. Yes, ma'am.
So
That's
essentially,
the background that I was
The
talking
whistleblower Tara Rodas came out and told me we got 350,000 kids missing from the border that were unaccompanied. Then our team went into high gear and into Austin, found a place where there was 119 of them boys that were being used for a club called Los Cholos.
Oh, my.
12 to 15-year-old boys. We were able to find 35 of them. Well, we found 35. They're back with their families and they're in safe places. But that was because they were given to sponsor families without any background check. 119 boys were put in one neighborhood in Austin under 5 sponsored families. That is dereliction of duty.
That's
The same charge that I would say upon the governor with the border that allowed this to happen. We did not read Article 4, Section 7 of the Constitution of the state of Texas, which says it's incumbent upon the governor to protect the state. from
Right.
Invasion.
Right
You
on.
declared an invasion, but you haven't exercised Article 4, Section 7.
another interesting case is Jeff Younger.
Yeah. This will be our last one because we got a buggy, but go ahead.
Yeah, his son, who's 9 years old, obviously his mom has some sort of mental issue where she's obsessed with making the kid transgender. So they had already approved the castration in the family court up in Fort Worth. And I don't really understand how this happens in Texas. They went ahead and took away his whatever custodial right he had to make medical decisions. Mom then moves to California because then California passed a law that they're able to bring children from other states. How does this happen in Texas?
The Texas Medical Board is going to be expanded.
Yeah.
That's where that starts. All of this give a lot of money to have it be on that board. The Texas Education Agency needs to be abolished. Right? Local education agencies got it. Cookie cutter doesn't exist in Austin that has a solution for education. But when you decentralize government, you watch the 80% of waste and fraud and abuse that takes place at the administrative level, give it to teachers, keep it at the lowest level, and start going after doctors that are doing this kind of stuff. Because
Darn right. Yes. Yes.
that's not, I had to hit the credit code. And, I took it serious.
Thank you.